The 6 to 7 Figure Show, episode 44. Let's hit it.
Broadcasting from the Valley of the Sun outside Phoenix, Arizona. This is the 6 to 7 Figure Show. Tired of working so hard and having no time? Take your six-figure practice and turn it to a thriving seven-figure enterprise. And now, your host, author, speaker, mentor, and strategist, Frank Bria.
Hey everyone, welcome to the 6 to 7 Figure Show. I'm your host, Frank Bria, and today I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by my good friend, Tom Poland, who is the best-selling author of the Leadsology series. We're going to get into that because that's fascinating stuff. He has personally started and sold numerous businesses with multi-million-dollar revenues, and he tells me that he's voluntarily married to a German Frau, who he affectionately refers to as his Little Bavarian Bulldozer, and they live quietly and happily on the sand next to the waves, little Castaways Beach in Queensland in Australia. Tom, welcome. And I was trying to translate that, like kleine Bayerische, but I don't know bulldozer in German. So
yeah, no, maybe it's a Panzer tank. That'll do.
Panzer. That's
probably more. It's probably more apt. Great awesome to be here, Frank. It's a privilege to be on your show. Long time admirer of yours.
Oh yeah, well, it's a mutual admiration society, Tom. So now, great. Let's talk about Leadsology for those folks. You've come well prepared there. So let's talk about Leadsology a little bit for those people who aren't familiar. It sounds like lead generation, but it sounds a lot more scientific and maybe a little bit more structured than most people do.
Right. Well, it is very specific, and I chose the word Leadsology, coined that phrase, if you like, because I figured in the end it was a science. You know, there was so much to it, and there's a degree of accuracy required, and there's a series of processes and sequences and so on. So, you know, we have psychology as the study of the human mind, and biology is the study of living species. So I figured Leadsology should be the study of lead generation. And the biggest distinctive thing with, you know, sort of the je ne sais quoi, the core, also the DNA of Leadsology is that the leads are inbound. So gone are the days of having to go to business networking meetings, doing cold calling, telemarketing, sending out 10,000 direct mail letters. It was always, to me, the Holy Grail, ever since I was 24 and started my first business, to have leads coming in, not to have to pay advertising, not to do anything expensive or complicated. Just, wouldn't it be great if bookings were coming in to talk about becoming back in those days, a consulting client, later on a coaching client, and later on still a program client? Wouldn't that be great? You know, high quality, well qualified, inbound, no chasing people, no leaving, voicemail and hoping to heck they're going to call you back, and no sending emails and not hearing, none of that. So that's what Leadsology is about.
Well, I can imagine that most everybody who's listening is thinking that that's something that they're trying to put together themselves. Well, why is this so hard for people in your perspective, Tom? Why is lead generation a thing that people struggle with so much?
I think there's a couple of reasons. The main one is ignorance, and I don't mean to sound arrogant when I say that, but we just don't know how. And that problem comes about because there's like a gazillion people like us out there, Frank, saying this is how to do it. And there's like a million voices, and often they're saying something different. You know, you could do podcasts, you do blogging, you should do webinars, you should do, launches, you should do public events, you should do online funnels, man, Facebook advertising. No, LinkedIn articles. So many people are like a deer in the headlights. It's just, well, where the frickin' heck do I start? What is true? What is real? What does actually work? Because there's these million people with their hands out saying, give me your money, trust me, give me your money and I'll show you how to generate leads. So I find a lot of my new clients have gone from one program into another coach, to another seminar, to another workshop, and they've tried a lot of different things, but they haven't got runs on the board. And I, suggest there's probably a few reasons for that. One is that you've got, of those million people that are saying, trust me, give me your money and I'll show you how to generate clients, there's a big chunk of them, let's say a minority, but a significant minority that just think it's all about selling another packet of dirt in a box.
Right.
So that they get 10 out of 10 for their marketing, like 1 out of 10 for value delivery, and then they go, it's a big market, ding, next please, let's find another sucker, sort of thing. So there's those people, the charlatans. There's the well-meaning ones who just want to pay their mortgage next month, and so they're motivated to sell your stuff as well. And you know, they are well-intentioned, but they just don't have the formula that actually delivers results.
Right.
And then there's the third category that actually bloody good at lead gen, but all too often they're doing it for their own business, and you can't hire them. So, bunch of reasons why people haven't cracked the code yet.
But I think you bring up a really good point, which is we hear a lot of folks in our industry, and you and I've talked about this a couple of times, where it is not about the value is not even part of the equation. Like it's it really is about hey, I've bundled things up. I've been taught by somebody else that the best thing to do is to bundle some course together and then put it out there. But delivery or standing by what you do, those are sort of afterthoughts.
It's a karmic thing for me. I want to sleep well at night, knowing that I've delivered full value, or hopefully over-delivered full value. This is not Mother Teresa. I mean, I do believe in karma. So I have a very selfish motivation. I don't want to come back as a rock next time, but I think it's also, so I really don't want this to make it sound like it's some sort of pure, I'm pure and the others are tainted sort of thing. Sure. But some people just have it in them that they need to feel fulfilled, and they do that when their clients get a result. And, I'm one of those people, whether that's a curse or a blessing, I don't know. But you got to frickin' well deliver results. And, unfortunately, a lot of people don't. And it's, so I should shut up on that, finish on that, right? We'll let you.
Well, it's a strong end. So it's a good place to land.
Yeah.
Well, because we've talked about, there's a pet peeve of mine as well. So you and I sort of share.
But there's probably also a salient lesson there for listeners. If you're listening to this and you've had this experience of you've paid some money to people for marketing or for training, or whatever it is, and you got no result, there's a pretty good chance that your audience, your prospects, are going to have heard other people like you offering something similar. And you've got to get cut through in your marketing. You've got to put something out there that doesn't just say we're different, but yells that we're different. I mean, people are going to want it, for instance, right? So the way we do it, because Seth Godin wrote that book, the title was All Marketers Are Liars, and I'm a marketer. Thanks, Seth. Not far from the truth. So the way we do it is we say, well, look, we think we've got something that's very effective. But if you want to work with us, then don't trust me. Yeah. And it gets cut through, and people think, well, hang on, if I'm going to work with you, don't I have to trust you? And I say to them, well, let me ask you this. Have you heard people say something like this before? Marketers saying, look, trust me, give me your money and I'll show you how to get new clients in. Have you heard that? Yeah, I've heard that a lot. And have you done that? Have you handed the money over? Yep. How many times you did that? Oh, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 times. Then how did it work out? Not so good. Like 2 months later, all I had to show for was an empty bank account balance. Every single time? Yeah, pretty much every single time. So, okay, so handing money to people who say, trust me, is not work for you. Correct. So let's not do that again. So instead of you trusting me, I'll trust you. I'll give you full access to everything for 30 days. I'll meet with you up to 3 times a week to help you implement. I will meet with you up to 3 times a week to help you implement. I'll give you the whole access to everything. And don't pay me anything. How's that sound? Really? Yeah. After 30 days, if you think I'm the real deal, then yeah, I'd like to be paid, but you don't have to trust me to start. So you've got to create an offer where it removes actually 3 barriers out of the minds of prospects, I believe. And very quickly, because I know you didn't ask the question, but I'm going to answer it anyway. One is financial risk. How do you remove that out of their mind? Yeah. Because they've been burnt before, probably. The second is the time and effort risk. Am I going to put all this time and effort in and to get no reward? Because that's a risk. And the third one is probably the most powerful demotivator that is very seldom addressed in marketing, is the risk of disappointment. Disappointment is such a powerful anti-motivating psychology. You see it all the time as a parent. You don't want your kids to be disappointed. We'll rescue them from disappointment. We've been disappointed. We hate being disappointed. It's one of the worst feelings in the world. So how do you mitigate that risk in your marketing? That are the three things I focus on: financial mitigation, time, effort mitigation, and disappointment mitigation.
Yeah, the disappointment thing is really, I'm really glad you've called that out. It is, I think, an area where a lot of people don't pay enough attention. And I can do it from personal experience, because you mentioned the parent thing. I've done that as a parent, trying to save my kids from disappointment.
Yeah.
And I've personally been negatively affected by my own disappointing results and things. And I've had to talk myself out of, the hole I've dug myself into. So it is very powerful. That's a really good point.
Okay.
I want to, as people are thinking about that, and I know you do this with sort of pay me after 30 days and see how it goes, that it's really powerful. And of course, the reason you're in business is because you pull it off, it works. But as a lot of people are listening to that, I know a lot of people are probably thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to get flooded with garbage stuff, and I'm going to be working with all these people and I know you mitigate this. Again, for the listeners who are in on this, I know Tom, we've talked about some of this stuff before, so I kind of know how he does this, but I think what you do to screen out, Tom, is brilliant, and I'd love for you to share it with the audience. How do you keep that clear?
Yeah, so that offer that I talked about is, I'll work you 30 days, meet with you up to 3 times a week, give you the keys to the whole vault, to the whole system, don't pay me any money. That's at the end of a sequence. If I lost my marbles and I actually went to a business networking meeting to do some marketing, and someone came up to me and said, oh, you're Tom Poland, you got that offer, can I jump on it? And I'd probably say, no, I want some money from you. And so, well, how come you talk about doing this offer, 30-day trial, and blah, blah, blah. I said, well, it's because you haven't been through the sequence yet. So the sequence is this, and this is why I can get away with making an offer like that without getting ripped off, other than 1 out of every maybe 200 clients. First of all, this new client we can talk about, who's engaging in this 30-day offer, don't pay me any money, get full access, is, first of all, they've opted into someone else's email list with an interest in sales or marketing.
Yeah.
That person who owns that email list has promoted my monthly webinar. So this prospect, who later became a client, opted into someone else's email list with registering an interest in sales and marketing, growing their business. Then they've registered for my webinar and thereby opted into my email list. They've attended the webinar. So each of these steps is a part of a qualification process. They've stayed to the end of the webinar because they don't know how to reach out to me until they get to the end of the webinar. They've then booked a time to have a conversation with me about becoming a client. They have, in the process, checked a box to confirm they can afford to work with me, specific dollar figure, checked a box to confirm that if we agree it's a good idea, they're ready to start now, checked a box to say they understand it's not a sales ambush, but neither is it a free coaching session. It's just a conversation between 2 adults to see if I've got something that's going to help them. They've turned up to that meeting, and then they sign up as a client and they get the 30 days. So they've been through this very intense filtering process.
Right.
And they're the people who get the offer, not the person that I just bumped into at the the supermarket. Said, "Oh, you're Tom Poland. Can I join your program?" I said, no, you can't. Go through the process. So they're highly qualified, and that's all part of that high quality inbound new client inquiry thing. This is a value proposition.
Yeah, and it's almost I hate to use the word gauntlet because it makes it sound very negative, but you've done your work to filter out the folks who are probably not going to be a good fit. You're probably not going to be able to help, probably aren't going to do the work or implement the kinds of things that you're talking about, right?
Yeah, it's as much for their sake that we want to filter people out as it is for mine.
Yeah.
And
I also want to call attention. Can we talk a little bit about your opt-in page to actually schedule a meeting with you? With you kind of mentioned the check boxes, but I think it's so phenomenal. I just want to kind of dig into it again a little more detail. Sure. If that's okay with you. So sure. One of the things that people get really frustrated about when trying to get inbound sales leads is the no-show, the misset expectations when they get on the call, right? It's like, oh, you're trying to sell me something. Why are you trying to sell me something? And you're like, how did we miss that?
But to be fair to those people that complain about that, often it's bait and switch. They often come in going, hey, let's do it. You know, the offer is a free strategy session.
Right.
And we're offering a free strategy session, but we're trying to sell them something. So that's in the trade, in the marketing, it's known as bait and switch.
Sure.
And my wife had that exact experience. You know, she was referred to someone, and it was, let's have a free session, and it was like, I'll give you a reading. It was like a psychic type person. And then, but it turned out it was just a sales pitch to sign up to a program. She came back really disappointed. She said, what just happened here? So, and think about this. If the very first exposure to our brand is duplicitous, is not what we told them it was going to be, they're probably sitting there going, is this going to get any better once I pay them money? So
it probably isn't. I always tell people it always goes down after the sales conversation anyway.
Right. So,
yeah.
And look at the universal experience of millions of people who have been to a training webinar, for example, and it turned out it was the sales pitch. Been to a strategy consult, turned out it was a sales pitch. Frank, a lot of people think, oh, it was just me had that experience. No, millions and millions and millions of people had that experience. So if they see my stuff and it's not different and it's not explicit that this is not a sales ambush, it's not a free coaching session. That's why we don't call it a strategy session. It's simply a conversation between two adults to see if I've got something here that's going to help you. If they don't see that explicit, then they're going to go, I smell bullshit again.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you lay out so clearly exactly what's going to happen that you set this expectation, and for your brand that, hey, when Tom says it, it's going to happen. It's going to be legitimate.
Yeah, we know what to say. No, we started because I used to run training webinars, which was at the end there was an offer, which is pretty common, and I thought it's not actually a training webinar. Well, yeah, it is if I do it well, but it's really there. So these days, what we do, and again, not suggesting I'm as pure as Mother Teresa, because I've done my fair share of shady things in my time, and embarrassed that I did them. But these days, it's a demonstration of how I work with my clients. If you'd like to come along and see a demonstration of how my clients in 27 cities and 15 time zones around the world are generating weekly flow, blah 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 blah, then please come along, and we'll show you how to do that. So. So I'm more comfortable with that we've shifted to describing what this actually is. And by the way, if you want to know how to work with people, we'll have an offer for you at the end. Okay, fair enough. So whatever we're doing in terms of our marketing and our selling, let's be totally transparent, totally direct and clear about what it is that people, because if we're getting them into the funnel, and I'm starting to hate that word, we can talk about some of the things that are bullshit out there. Funnels are one of them. We're getting them into the funnel, so to speak, or into our loop. Let's make sure that we've got people in there that are genuinely interested in what we do, and so we don't have this sort of bait and switch thing happening.
Well, and one of the things that everyone I think is noticing in the marketing space is that these tactics that were so popular and have been used a lot are starting to become less and less effective because people are starting to say, wait a minute, that's not really what it is. And most of us who are fairly sophisticated in the industry, we all know what webinar means, right? It's not quite what people think it is. So it's a really, say what's actually going on. That's a fascinating new take on marketing.
Yes. Honesty. What is this honesty you speak of? But I'm a pragmatist. I do believe in karma, but it actually works better.
Yeah, sure.
We're not marketing popsicles to 12-year-olds, for God's sake. We most of us are marketing to mature, reasonably sophisticated buying audiences, and they could smell bullshit a mile off. They've eaten so much of the stuff, and they don't want to eat anymore. So that's what we do. I mean, I have to say, it's not just about being honest and direct in your value proposition. It's all about doing it the smart way as well. You've got to do it right.
Yeah.
You've got to get cut through. You've got to make sure that, in our case, we run webinars to generate leads and grow our subscriber list and add value to that list, etc. So the title of the webinar has got to get cut through. It's got to motivate people. It's got to speak to a specific unmet needs. There's lots of things that we have to go into that title. But So you got to do it smart, but you got to do it honestly as well.
Sure. Yeah, that's a really good point. In fact, it's a great jumping off point to talk specifically about how you work in Leadsology with folks. How does that process work? So as people are joining in your program and working with you, how are you working with them logistically? What is the process?
So it's like, how does the program work? So first of all, there's three parts to it. There's the online content, which is a series of 27 short modules, and it's not a training program, it's an implementation. It implements the system. And that's a vital distinction, because you don't graduate with a certificate, you graduate with a lead generation system that's actually in your business and working and bringing in leads every single week. And that's a whole value proposition. Our guarantee is built around that and so on. So it's an implementation program. So there's the online component, which is the first element, and people can go through that as fast or as slow as they like. The second element is we use Slack as our client communication center. So all our clients are in there. They can direct message each other. They can set up JVs together, and we encourage them to do that. But probably what it's used most for is that they can direct message myself and my co-coach Liz about, I've just finished module 1. Here's the result. What do you think? You might see, for example, the title of the webinar. We have 6 modules just on the title because it's so important. And so they go through the modules, come up with their 3 different titles, and then Liz and I give them feedback on that. So first element, go at your own pace, modules online. Second element is the client communication center, where we can give you feedback, etc. Third element is we guarantee every client, regardless of where they are in the world, 3 time zone friendly support sessions. We call them implementation support sessions. They're Zoom group calls, generally between sort of 6 and maybe 12 clients on each call. They run for 1 hour, no more, sometimes less, but no more. And we guarantee at least 3 of those. So we actually run 7 of those every single week. I don't know of any other program of any type anywhere in the world that gives as much support as we do.
Yeah, that's a large number of weekly sessions, for sure.
But yeah, so I run 3 of them, and Liz runs 3 of them, and then we do one together. So for me, from a listener's point of view, if they're thinking, well, what if I did that? God, all my time's gone. Not really. 3 hours a week.
Yeah, that's a group
that's pretty doable.
Session. That's great. Yeah.
We've got dozens of clients, 27, 30, 15 times, and they're happy clients. I also give every single client, regardless of what program they're in, whether it's high level or standard, my mobile phone number. And when I give it to them, I say to them, I'm happy to give you my mobile phone number because I don't think you're ever going to need it. But I want you to know that if any time you're feeling neglected or stuck, call me, leave a message. It might be 2 o'clock in the morning. I might have the phone off, but because I'm in Australia, but call me, leave a message, and let me know, because it's really important for me to know that you feel well supported in implementation.
Yeah.
So we, and again, this is the other thing is, if you think about your audience and your prospect, what experiences they have, whatever disappointments they've had, whatever frustrations they've had in the past, and dealing with people like you, you've got to address that. And that's one of the big things with programs is like, okay, there was a Q&A once a month, and there's like 100 people on the call, and I couldn't even get my question in. So that sucks. So when I say 3 support sessions a week, it's like, do I have to turn up to all of them? No. But we do recommend you do 1 a week as a point of accountability and review every single week, regardless of whatever progress you have or have not made. So, but that's how we deliver, is the online modules, client communication center using Slack, and that typically takes me I'd say about 4 hours a week to answer queries in there. And then the ones that I take, 3, sometimes 4 support sessions. So the whole value delivery process for all of those clients really wouldn't take me more than 8 hours a week.
Yeah, I mean, you've basically laid out what we pretty much teach as best practice for program design. You got the virtual training, you've got offline communication, and you've got group coaching calls. That's fundamentally it right there. Good job.
We got a lot of group coaching calls. So what else was I going to say with that? I guess that's about it. We just, we really want to go all out so that people actually implement, because it is one of the challenges that okay, so some people have joined a program or got a business coach that didn't deliver value, but there are programs and business coaches out there that deliver value, but the client didn't implement. Why didn't they implement? Maybe they got busy, but maybe the structure wasn't there to help them implement. So by having a lot of support sessions, by having 24/7 communication through the client communication center, hopefully that helps people to actually stay focused and get
you're putting the accountability infrastructure in place. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I tell people all the time that as the program designer, as the one who's putting that out there, it's my responsibility to provide as much accountability and support infrastructure as I can. Yeah. And of course, even after you do that, there's the possibility someone might not implement, but you've got to at least do your part to provide the support infrastructure.
I've had some people that paid up front. I mean, they don't pay until after 30 days, but they paid for the year up front, and I've never seen them. And I've emailed them and said, hey, can I help? Are you stuck? Are you still alive? I mean, like 3 times and still nothing. It's like, okay, but you know, it's kind of a waste of your money. So you do get those. The other thing I was going to answer a question you didn't ask, which is a bad habit of mine. But people do ask, with programs, should I do evergreen or should I start one every 3 months or 2 months or whatever? And I just run evergreen. And a lot of people think, but you can have people on a call that have just started, and the other people have been there for like a month, and other people 2 months. How does that work? It works incredibly well. Because
I agree.
Because people are going, oh, so that guy just asked a question. He's obviously ahead of me. That's interesting, though, to know about that. And the people that are further ahead are looking back and they're getting reminded of some of the things they've forgotten about. So it works really well.
I'm a total fan of that, and agree that the infrastructure that you're describing is really, really powerful. A lot of people are nervous about, I don't want my week 5 people and my week 1 people to be on the same. No, you really do want that. You want that community, and you go one step further, it sounds, by helping these folks actually connect to potentially do joint venture partnerships or strategic relationships.
We encourage them to do that. We encourage them to do that. I mean, if someone's implementing our program, it will be reasonable to assume that certainly within 90 days, they're getting a flow of new clients. So if you look at it from a financial point of view, when you're marketing programs, people want an answer to 3 questions. First of all, how much money down? In our case, it's 0. Second question is how much money per month, which currently is $495. It's about to go to $795, but how much per month? But they do not ask how many months. And that's very interesting. Now, 20% do. 20% calculate the whole total, but 80% just say how much per month. Can I afford that out of my monthly budget? Right. So if you mark it as a 3 month payments, they'll go, okay, 3 months, $495 a month, 3 months. Yeah, I can do that. You mark it as 6 months at $495, they go $495 a month. Oh yeah, I can do that. 12 months, $495 a month. Yeah, I can do that. So you could be leaving a lot of money on the table if you're only charging for 3 months. There's questions about that. So, but the third thing is, when do I get a return on my investment? So how much money down? How much money per month? When do I get a return on investment? So with ours, 90 days, they're not paying anything for the first 30 days. So basically, they got to fund 2 payments, and then it should be self-funding. But if they do JVs,
they could go faster.
They're getting money back from the get-go. So anytime you can create a value proposition which demonstrates to someone that the return on investment here is significant, there is no cost, then that's going to be a program that's easier to market.
Yeah, that's a fabulous structure, and a really interesting concept for folks that don't think about the cash flow implementation or implications for their clients when they're thinking through, how long is this going to last and where the cash flow could come from. That's a really brilliant thought. Because that is how the clients are thinking about funding it. They're thinking about cash flow. So it could go on like
monthly cash flow.
Right.
By my estimation, 20% add up the number of months and make the decision based on that, but 80% don't. And I'm one of those 80%. Why can I afford it each month? Not what the total is. Yeah,
that's great. Look, Tom, we're out of time. Unfortunately, this has been amazing. You've really laid out a great infrastructure, and I think people who are right now looking at how do you number one lead gen. How do you pull this off? I think you've given some really good insights of things people might be missing, and I would encourage them to take a look at what you're up to, because I actually really like it. I really respect it. And the second thing is that the infrastructure of your program, like you've solved a lot of the problems that I think a lot of people who have some kind of group implementation infrastructure are running into, and you've kind of pushed through those issues. So thanks so much for that. One last question before we go. If as people are listening to this and they're thinking, well, I got to check this Leadsology thing out, where's a good place for them to go, Tom?
Two places. So first of all, if they want to see how I run webinars and do the lead gen and the whole sequence of the presentation, leadgendemo.com. So okay. Lead gen as in generation, gendemo.com. The main website is leadsology.guru. But if they want to actually attend and see how it all works, then leadgendemo.com. If they just want to download some pretty cool stuff, then leadsology.guru.
Great. All right. And those links are here below the video, or if you're listening on the show notes page, they're here. If you're out and about listening on audio, come on back to the show notes page, and we've got those links for you to click on through. Tom, thanks so much for spending time with us. It's been really, really insightful, and you've given us a lot of great stuff to go. Actually, I've got a couple of things I need to think through now just from this conversation. So thanks so much for that. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks, Frank.
And thank you, everyone, for being here this episode. This has been the 6 to 7 Figure Show. I've been your host, Frank Bria, and thanks so much for investing your time with us. I know you're busy. You got a lot of things you could be doing. So if you're here with us, we really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.